we emerge. Paris is our destination, a stage that encapsulates the world bathed in sporting decor. We are ready to design our own immortal chapters. A flicker that will define all regions' defiance. Welcome to We Paris, and we are live.
We are certainly live. It is We Party Live. Welcome to SportsMax's coverage of the opening ceremony of Paris 2024, the Olympic Games. It's finally here. I'm Sachin Ramsubag. I'm indeed pleased to be with you to take you through the paces, to take you through the moments, the scenes, and everything that is Paris 2024. I'm joined on set by three Olympic persons, athletes, and the coach as well. First up, from Trinidad and Tobago, Jehu Gordon, a two-time Olympian, world junior and senior 400-meter gold medalist as well. Jehu, thank you very much for being with us. Alongside Janelle Atkinson, the Jamaican swimmer, two-time Olympian as well, 2000 in Sydney, 2004 in Athens, and many other great accolades to her name. And last but certainly not the least, Anil Roberts from Trinidad and Tobago, Olympic coach, sport enthusiast, former sport minister in Trinidad and Tobago as well, and just a lovely sport enthusiast as well. Yeah, indeed. All right, thank you very much, folks, for being with us and joining us on set for this discussion. It's the pre-show, and it is Paris 2024. Now, this Games is going to be something that's certainly out of the ordinary. Paris 2024, it will be, some say, the most eco-friendly Games, and lots of other things as well. And we're here to give you those points and, of course, give you some highlights and feedback as well from the athletes as well, those of us joining us on the set. First off, Jehu, tell us a bit about your experience in that opening ceremony that you attended. Was it two opening ceremonies or just one?
Two opening ceremonies. My first being in London, 2012. At 20 years old, memories that will last a lifetime, to be honest. The only thing that kind of took me aback was the fact that we had to wait long hours before we actually entered the stadium. And I know most coaches will beg to differ, especially if you have to compete the following day, to miss the opening ceremony. But at my first Olympics, I would encourage any person, for the first time at least, to visit the Olympic opening ceremony. Once you reach any stadium and you hear Trinidad and Tobago, whichever country you came from, all the long lines, it was worth the wait. So my first experience, it was a good one.
Yeah, Janelle was laughing and smiling when you said coaches frown upon. I know Janelle's experience is a bit different from yours because she was actually participating the very next morning. And was it a different experience from Jehu's?
I mean, I felt the shade that you were throwing. That's fine. However, you know, it was one of those things. I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
I worked so hard to accomplish so much. And with being from Jamaica, not necessarily a country known for swimming, it was one of those experiences that I couldn't pass up, especially knowing that we weren't going to be around for the closing ceremony. So I said, why not? Fought tooth and nail. I got my way.
Anil is laughing because he had a part to play in that as well, right?
Well, I was laughing because as a swimming coach, and swimming starts the Olympics, so Jehu, he could go to the opening ceremony because he has about 8 days before the track and field start. But swimming, we have to swim the next morning. I've never seen an opening ceremony. I don't know what it is because, as Jehu said, you've got to line up and dress up 2 hours before, wait for transportation, get to a huge stadium. Now, France, they're the river, but you've got to wait there, then you line up, you're standing up, you don't know if you're going to eat. They give you some sandwiches or something, not the best food, in a little package. And then you have to go through the whole ceremony. There are over 108 countries to march on. That takes it, the march pass itself takes 2 hours. So my athlete's not going. If I was coaching Janelle, I don't know. We would have had to have World War III because she wasn't going no opening ceremony.
I would have still been victorious.
When you have to swim next morning, we there to compete, you know, so it's nice there's a closing ceremony. I would have fought for Janelle to stay on till the end to go to the closing ceremony rather than the opening.
Interesting points indeed. You mentioned two things there, the Olympic ceremony taking place on the Seine River and also World War III. Now, previous to World War III, thankfully that has not happened yet. We hope it never happens. And the World War II, prior to the World War II era, this is going to be the first time that so many French army personnel is being deployed for this opening ceremony. Because it's taking place on the Seine River, it's sort of not a controlled environment. And we heard earlier this morning, unfortunately, the arson attacks on the train stations, the train lines as well, from someone who was involved in running a country and running the affairs of a country. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that was the worst possible thing that could happen to these Olympics and to the Olympic movement. The attacks on the trains, it brought back memories. Everyone has always tried to use the Olympic Games to make a political message, to involve athletes in things that they have no control over. You bring back memories of 1972 when terrorists jumped into the village and kidnapped Israeli athletes, and 13 of them eventually died on a helicopter. You bring back 1996, after the swimming, I was actually in the Coca-Cola area in Atlanta, 1996, when the bomb went off. Janet Evans was doing an interview. Swimming had just finished, so all the swimmers were gathering to relax. The track athletes would have been in bed, getting ready to take to the stage. And when that bomb went off, it just sent shivers through your spine. So the Olympics now has taken on a different flavor in Paris. All the athletes now have another layer of security and stress to add to the stressful situation. It doesn't augur well, but I wish them well. They've got some of the best security in Europe, and they could call on all the partners, but it's not a good start.
Yeah, I thought so as well when I saw that report. Unfortunately, we were hoping for the best start possible in Paris 2024, but unfortunately that arson attack, no one has yet claimed anything for it. Hope it remains that way, and we hope that it stays that way and no other attacks happen for the duration of the next few weeks. Jehu, I want to bring you back into the conversation. When you walked onto that track representing the red, white and black, what were your emotions like going through, seeing more than 30,000 people, and of course Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, playing the piano before that in London 2012. It must be something that you will remember until a lifetime.
Yeah, for sure, memories that would last a lifetime. The Olympics is the pinnacle for track and field, or for many sports. And I would say that once I walked out onto the stage, I know at that point it was showtime, it was business. This is what it means to represent the red, white and black. And I could not wait to showcase my talent on the track in the following days to come.
Well, she burst onto the scene as a 21-year-old in 2008, shocking the world to win the women's 100 meters in Beijing. Now, her legendary career comes to an end in Paris. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce takes the spotlight as we build up to the Paris 2024 opening ceremony. Stay with us. We continue with We Party Live right after this.
From every nation we come to compete. With passion and courage our hearts beat. De chaque nation nous venons pour rivaliser. Avec passion et courage, nos cœurs sont élevés. In the arena.
For 16 years, she has carried the Jamaican flag with class and pride. One of only 3 women to defend the Olympic 100 title, and she has done it with a magnetic smile. 3 gold, Olympic gold, and 8 in total. And she wants to add to that in Paris to close her amazing Olympic chapter. Bienvenue à We Party Live. Welcome back to We Party Live as we take you into the opening ceremony. We're just about 45 minutes away from that spectacle. Boy, it's going to be a fantastic way on the Seine River. Now, one woman who is no stranger to the opening ceremonies is Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, as she makes her 5th appearance at an Olympic Games. We put together a real emotional piece. Take a look.
Shelly, the one and only Fraser-Pryce. The
tiny woman with a huge hair, an even bigger smile, and a gargantuan talent.
From 2008 to 2012 to 16, 21, and now 2024. Shelly, if this is to be the final time, we say thank you. We salute you.
Who gets the start? Fraser-Pryce gets the start.
I want to be remembered as an athlete that never gave up.
But Fraser-Pryce on the near side, the Olympic champion defends. She defends the title. Wonderful run by Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce of Jamaica.
Whatever was handed to me, I held that and I made it work for me. And understand that not every day will be sunshine. You'll have some rain, but it's up to you to take out your umbrella, get it up, and keep going. Sometimes our greatest setback will be setting us up for a big comeback, and it's all about embracing the change and realizing that, okay, I'm not the only one that's going to be dealing with things like that, injuries, being a mother and coming back. Other persons are going to go through the same thing, and I want them to see me as the athlete that in the face of injury, she never gave up. She gave it her all. Coming back from having a baby, she never gave up. She gave it her all despite of the circumstances.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Queen.
The Queen indeed, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. Wonderful initiative that the editor put through there. Amazing shots, amazing scenes, very emotional and very touching as well for not just the Jamaican folks, but everyone in the Caribbean and the world. 3 gold, 4 silver and 1 bronze. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce representing the Caribbean with pride and representing the Caribbean and the people of Jamaica for many, many, many years. Now, this is going to be her 5th Olympic appearance, and she joins a very short list, I would like to say, a short list of many greats that has joined the Caribbean in their Olympic appearances. Of course, Bahamas as they're part of that list, Jamaica, Bahamas as well, TNT, yes, in the mix, and a few others joining in from sailing to athletics and moving on to many other disciplines as well. Veronica Campbell-Brown in the mix of things from Jamaica, and a few others joining that great list of 5 or more Olympic appearances. And George Bovell, the TNT swimmer, down at the end there from the year 2000 to 2016, his last one being in Rio de Janeiro. Yeah, and a few others as well from Barbados. We have Michael John Maskell, and a few others joining the great list of Caribbean athletes with most Olympic appearances. And certainly, as we discussed earlier before we went to the break, it will be her final Olympic appearance. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, we are really, really happy to be bringing to you these statistics. And of course, we're going to share in some discussions as well with the Olympians on set with us alongside the Olympic coach. And first off, Janelle, I want to begin with you. What was your emotion like, if you do remember, when Shelly-Ann won that first medal? What was it like?
It was one of those situations where, for me personally, coming forth, it's always like a bittersweet moment to see, other Caribbean athletes, especially Jamaicans, reach the top of the podium, because I was so close, yet so far it feels like. So for me, it's almost like I felt in her joy, I felt in her sacrifices, and a piece of me almost kind of like got torn open a little bit, reminding me that I could have been on that podium at some point. But, I was so happy for her. I was happy for our country. We're so small, little but Watalawa, and every day, every time, Jamaica shows up.
Yeah, what is this achievement, her achievements did for the Caribbean people, not just Jamaica, but representing the Caribbean, such a small entity versus the billions in the world?
Well, let me put it to you this way. Track and field and cricket, along with netball, have a special place in the hearts of all Caribbean people. Cricket and track and field, from Herb McKinley way back in the day coming forward, they gave everybody, whether you're athletic or not, they gave everybody a sense that whatever your sphere, you could achieve and you could be the best in the world. So seeing Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce and others get up on that top podium, get that gold medal, just fills everyone in the Caribbean with such inspiration to work hard, whether you are a teacher, whether you are cleaning the street, whether you are a businessman, or if you're on SportsMax, if you're on TV, you know that you could be better than ESPN or CNN, or you can be professional cameraman. It gave a sort of sense of achievement and pride to everyone. Jamaicans, yes, first and foremost, because you know Jamaica, I love Jamaica, and I love Jamaicans' pride for the country. But it was more than that. It's for the Caribbean. Whether it is J.Hugh, whether it's Janelle. Janelle will tell you she came fourth, but she would never tell you that the injuries, the knees, her knees were so bad, they're so injured that she couldn't push off the wall. And she lost a medal by a fraction of a second. Had she been able to be healthy, she would have gotten close to that gold medal. And so it brought pride, and also to see Janelle, for example, who following on the heels of Leah Martindale, a black woman, strong black woman in a sport, swimming, my sport, which was considered more for other people, for the lighter hues, for them to get up there and race against the world, along with Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce and all the other medalists. It just brings a sort of pride to Caribbean people.
J.Hugh, you are involved in athletics, still are, and tell us, what does the legacy of Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce mean to the athletics fraternity, and of course, what sort of impact does she leaves behind?
Well, a couple words to just sum up Shelly-Ann's legacy: consistency, longevity, record breaking. When we see Shelly-Ann coming from a small country like Jamaica, a country that is not backed the same way that many European countries are backed financially, it gives the younger generations coming up a lot of hope and vision to know that they too can dream to be a Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. So I guess giving hope and faith for the future to be just like Shelly-Ann is what motivates the younger generation, seeing that she leaves such a legacy behind.
I'm going to keep you in the hot seat. Do you think it's more pressure at your first Olympics, or is it more pressure at your last Olympics, knowing that you have to finish on a high and continue that legacy that you created?
I think her legacy is already solidified. So now she could go out, however she decides to go out. She's done it all. She's achieved a lot. She's broken every record. She's won the pinnacle of the sport, which is the Olympic gold medal. She doesn't have the world record, but I think her longevity and her consistency throughout the years speaks for itself. And unless Elaine was to show up at the Olympic Games this year and do the spectacular, which is the triple-double, I think Shelly-Ann is the GOAT.
Yeah, indeed. Greatest of all time, Shelly-Ann Fraser. Do you think as well that we may see some other Olympic athletes from the Caribbean, this being their final one?
Well, yes, and to talk about pressure, the pressure is on your first Olympic event, your first heats, your first final. When an athlete goes down in that ready room, and coaches, we can't do anything for 25 minutes when they go down there. We have no clue what's going on. They go down into that ready room, and they would tell you that that's a pressure cooker. People like Hazley Crawford handled it well, and it's with their personality. Hazley would tell you that in 1976, when he went in the ready room, Harvey Glance and the Americans were sitting there, and Hazley walked in with his Trinbagonian bravado and started to talk to them and say, but that's who they sent for. I go beat all yeah. And he won the race in the change room, in the waiting room, before they walked out on that track. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce has no pressure now. Her career is remarkable. Just looking at you stand up there with that AR thing, that fancy, I'm pen and paper, all this technology and thing, to see 3 gold, 4 silver, and a bronze in Olympic level sport. She could go there, relax, and that might be a worry for the other competitors because she has no pressure on her whatsoever. The greatest thing I see about Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, I saw a video. She entered her child's mommy's race, parents' race. And Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce in her long pants and so on ran probably 11-0 in that 100 meters. And when they asked her, but girl, why you run so fast when it's only other parents? She say race, name race. I run in race. And I just love that. That is class.
Class indeed, and it's really important to know that her humility as well.
Yes.
I've never, let's put it on the table. I've never met Shelly-Ann Fraser, but her humility, it spills over into her interviews, it spills over into her photos, and just that glistening smile that is always memorable from one Fraser-Pryce is something that I think many people may remember more than the Olympic medals.
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, between her personality and even Usain Bolt's, I mean, even to this day, you still see on social media all the amazing things that Usain did behind the blocks, shaking the hands of, you know, the basket holders, and little things like that, you know, essentially create ripple effects, and it really put Jamaica on the map where people really understood our culture, our background, and essentially how open and, you know, I guess kind of like inclusive we are as a community and as a Caribbean as a whole.
Yeah, Jehu, a few other athletes, we possibly are predicting that this may be their last time in the Olympics. Dylan Carter from Trinidad and Tobago swimming. What do you think?
I think Dylan is about 30 years old now, so he has at least one more Olympic Games in him. So not time yet. We expect Dylan to progress. We expect him to continue working hard, and definitely wish him the best for the future.
Kirani James?
We could see Kirani winding down a little bit. Yeah, he's done it all. He's achieved a lot. Sometimes the motivation to keep waking up morning in, night out. It takes a lot. Sometimes the body is aging. We know he suffered from, I think it was Parkinson's back in 2017 around there, and he has recovered from it. But I could probably see Kirani winding down to probably a World Championships in the next couple of years.
Indeed. What about Hansel Parchment, one of those athletes that has been around for a few years well?
I know injuries has definitely riddled Hansley for some time now. I believe this could probably be Hansley's last Olympics. He'll be 38 at the next one. I'm not sure if his body could take the plyometric bounding and pressure of the hurdle requirement.
Yeah, Dylan Carter, Anil, I know you are a swimming man, and he's also a big swimmer. Do you think he has what it takes to make it to another Olympics?
Of course he does. He could go 2 more Olympics, but it depends on his motivation, what he wants to achieve. The events that he's swimming now, the 50 freestyle, hopefully by the next Olympics, the 50 backstroke, 50 butterfly, and 50 breaststroke will be on the card. I mean, if you can include breakdancing and so on and keep equestrian, the 50 meter of the strokes should be an Olympic event. If that changes and you can see him swimming a 50 fly in 2028, I think he will be there. But it all depends on hunger. He has the talent. God blessed him with great ability. He's the fastest starter in the world. Underwater, his streamline and his butterfly kick's tremendous. And if he can keep that hunger to do the work, as Jehu said, I could see him in 1 or 2 more Olympics.
Yeah, well, you love the analysis of one Anil Roberts there. I know nothing about swimming, but I just learned a whole lot. And now, I mean, we mentioned a few names, folks, but are there any names that I missed out? Do you think anyone else this might be their last time we're going to see them on the Olympic tracks?
You know, honestly, I feel like with swimming, there's so many youngsters coming up, you know, behind Dylan from Trinidad, from Jamaica, you know, Bahamas. So it's one of those, it's interesting, where it's not just his motivation, but also their motivation. They know there are limited spots, whether it's getting the B time or even just kind of getting that universality card. But it's not just about his own motivation, but the motivation of the youngsters who are nipping and waiting for their turn. So, I mean, he might get pushed out.
Well, that's a very great point. That we have a young guy, not this Olympics, called Nikolai Blackman.
He's ready.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So Dylan will have competition next 4 years.
Any names that we left out, Jehu? Do you think we left out any names who maybe this might be their last hurrah?
I can see Rene Kwao from Trinidad and Tobago. He has done it all. He's been on many world teams and Olympic teams. His last team being in 2016. He's representing Trinidad and Tobago here in the men's 4x4 at 36 years old. Let's see if he can take it to 40, but I'll probably say no.
Interesting points indeed from our panelists. Of course, this is We Party Live, giving a preview to the Olympic ceremony that's going to happen very, very shortly. Stay with us. You don't want to miss it.
With passion and courage, our hearts beat. De chaque nation, nous venons pour rivaliser. Avec passion et courage, nos cœurs sont élevés. In the arena, we give our all. With grace and honor, we stand tall. Dans l'arène, nous donnons tout. Avec grâce et honneur, nous restons.
planes, trains, and automobiles, they have arrived, ascending in their numbers from lands near and far, representing cultures and religions from all walks of life, all gathering for the greatest race of their lives, the human one. For the next 2 weeks, acquaintances will be made, friendships forged, and people will meet as strangers and leave as friends. Countries at war will find peace, all in the name of a universal language called sport. This is a land filled with history, where life itself dares to replicate the very art and creativity that is the soul of its people. A city where the lights of a magical tower shimmer on a river of water that carry vessels filled with dreams and romance. And we hope to experience the spectacle of nothing less than magic.
Trials are behind us. Dates are set. Venues ready. Athletes prepared. Or are they? Are you ever completely prepared for an event that takes place but once every 4 years? These are the games of the 33rd Olympiad, and this year, with no pandemic, these men and women all have a date with destiny. In this book, the storylines change constantly as it's being written live. And there's so many narratives and cliffhangers. A gun goes off, a nervous twitch, a moment of hesitation, and suddenly, the ending changes. For this chapter, the writer uses a pencil. As the world watches, eyes are focused on one tiny region, and suddenly it's a game of numbers. But in this game, it's not the highest one that wins, and it will take something phenomenal to break a record that currently resides in the land of wood and water. There is always space for a new hero. But remember, no good story is without a great villain.
Is this a changing of the guard? Will the gossip and stories on the track survive? Will the fastest man in the world become Olympic champion? Many a loud voice has toppled at these games. This may be a perfect and final swan song for some, whilst for others, hearts will be broken. Either way, tears of joy and sorrow will be lost in the cool breezes, sunshine, and colors of a Caribbean rainbow.
Whatever the outcome, we welcome you and ask that you stay with us as we take this journey together and create not just memories, but moments. Welcome, one and all, to the Olympic Games.
Welcome to Paris 2024. Ouvrons grand les Jeux.
Très bien indeed. That was the voices of Alex Jordan and Donald Oliver, our reporters in Paris, bringing that beautiful and thought-provoking piece. And we are really happy to have that piece to bringing to you wherever you're joining us from, whether it's on the SportsMax app, whether it's on your sofa set. So if you're looking at us from your workplaces as well, welcome once again to We Party Live. Amazing piece indeed, a piece that's worth every single moment. I think it's probably worth an Emmy Award as well. A blockbuster indeed.
Well, and the drama, and they encapsulated everything in that short piece, because you got the history. The modern Olympic Games began in Paris in 1896 with Baron de Coubertin when he brought it back. And now we're in Paris again. And to see the culture, the art, the history. And the world is at a difficult place with a few wars raging for a period now, that the world is looking not only to these athletes to be ambassadors and show us what's good, but to bring back the camaraderie and the love. So that piece, well done, Alex and Donald Oliver. Brilliant. You can get the goosebumps. You ready?
Indeed, for sure. You know, before we started this show, I spoke earlier in July to the French ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Didier Chabot, and he was saying, you know, the games in itself, it's great for the economy and everything, but his main objective and his main thing that he wanted was the world to stop the wars and stop the fights just for this period, and just have a moment to acknowledge and accept that, hey, sport is a mechanism for unity, and it can bring forth peace. And I think Alex and Donald really brought forward those pieces there as well.
No, absolutely. They hit the nail, you know, the nail on the head, where, you know, it is a great unifier for one. And then even that one piece where they talked about, you know, meeting strangers, people you've never thought about crossing paths with, just having lunch with them, you know, sitting on a bus with them. So it's one of those where you're able to connect with people on a such deeper level, because you're surrounded by people that have the same level of passion, the same amount of sacrifices, you know, in different ways, injuries, coming back from all sorts of things, personal lives, you know, to be able to be there and feel supported by a complete stranger.
Absolutely. Well, we do have Alex Jordan, who is joining us in Paris. She's no stranger to the television screens, and we are happy to have her joining us from Paris. Alex Jordan, bonjour.
Salut, bonsoir tout le monde. Hello from beautiful, if not a bit rainy, Paris. It's a balmy, rainy evening here in Paris, but we're right here by the Eiffel Tower, and there is so much excitement buzzing around this arena. I just saw Serena Williams and Alexis Ohanian and their daughter on the red carpet here. The world has come to Paris.
Indeed, it is certainly a real spectacle, Alex. And I know for a fact that, yes, the weather is going to be playing a part, especially where swimming is concerned, and the impact that the Seine River could have. But just talk us through the emotions like on the ground as it pertains to moments away from the opening ceremony.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I heard a little bit of y'all's discussion there in studio about the state of the world, and in fact, you know, these events like the Olympics bringing people together no matter where you're from. And if we could be an example to you, we are here really with one of the best seats in Paris, IMC SportsMax, right here in the middle of the action. And it's been a Portuguese cameraman who shared his water, and the Canadian team who lent us their ponchos. You know, right in front of us, the world is waiting to see this parade of athletes, the finest in the world, come up here. And I can see people from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Brazil, you name it, you know. So a real feeling of global unity as everyone comes together under this wonderful, powerful banner of sport.
Alex, Anil Roberts here. Tell me, you have been there for a while. I believe that with the arson attacks on the trains, that the security checkpoints will be different. It will take longer for you to arrive. There will be more searches. What has happened since the attacks?
Yeah, it's a great question, Anil. It's a really good question, because it is unlike anything I've ever been at. Obviously, there are great security concerns here in Paris for the Paris 2024 Olympics. We arrived in Paris, or should I say down to the Trocadero, without much incident. However, getting from the Trocadero into where we are to our spot took maybe just under 2 hours. It is a combination of a lot of security checks and a bit of that Parisian, creative, disorganized chaos. So yes, heavily policed, but I think, you know, at this stage though, this city is ready for the games.
Alex, J.U. here. I saw on Reuters there was a poll that 40% of Parisians were indifferent with regards to the hosting of the games in Paris. Would you say that there is a change now that it's actually a couple minutes away from starting?
I think so. I think Parisians are excited that the world has come to their city. But I think what is important to understand is les Français leurs-mêmes, the French themselves, surtout les Parisiens, especially the Parisians. You know, this is a culture of a bit of, we're not that impressed, you know. They're very stylish. They have a very strong sense of self. As compared, as if I can compare to Tokyo, as compared to the Japanese culture, this is a totally different thing. It is almost a sense of, you're welcome, everyone. You're welcome to our city.
I can see that.
Alex, I need to have a French lesson with you when we do meet in person, hopefully very, very soon. But tell us, what's the atmosphere like just mere minutes before? Because Anil asked the question about the security, the different checkpoints, of course, an increase in security as well as it pertains to after those arson attacks. But what's the general feeling like? Is it a feeling of optimism? Is it a feeling of anxiety? Is it a feeling of expectation?
Yes, expectation and anticipation. I think mild excitement building. Parisians are, of course, lining the Seine River. There are thousands and thousands of people along the river waiting for the boats, right? This first ever opening ceremony that will be outdoors. But also within, if you can see behind me, all the stands here. I get the impression, though, this is the world. These are the tickets money for people have booked.
Yeah, Alex, unfortunately, we do have some technical difficulties with that link from Paris, but we want to thank Alex Jordan very much for sharing the live as it happens emotion with us. I think, you know, Alex really painted the picture for us, especially where the security is concerned.
Where you say that, you see what she said. As a coach now, my mind goes immediately. When you have an athlete, you have to time your wake up to the time you're going to swim. You have to plan everything to the minute. If you're swimming at 10:35 a.m. and a swimmer requires you want to swim fast in the morning to make sure you get in the semifinal, you may have to wake up an hour or two earlier at 5 a.m., have a coffee, rehydrate. When you sleep, you dehydrate, you lose about 2 or 3 pounds. You have to start that water getting into you. You have to eat your breakfast. You have to get on the bus. Now, getting on the buses with your tags and so on will normally take 8 minutes. But with the arson attacks, I'm sure they're going to double check. They're going to search bags. They're going to triple check the buses, check underneath. That's going to add on another 15 minutes. So as a coach, you have to know if you had planned to leave the village at 6:35 a.m. on that bus, now with the increased security, you'll probably have to leave at 6 a.m.
Do you think that will play a factor in that the planning process now has to be adjusted for the various teams, Janelle?
No, absolutely. And that, you know, it's a great point, because all of a sudden now you have all these outside variables that you don't know is going to happen. You don't know all the extra precautions that are going to take place, because it's not just leaving the village, it's once you get into the pool area. When you're warming up, you know, are they going to, you know, I guess kind of like start segregating, or at least kind of like limiting how many people can go in the pool at a time? Then the bathrooms, you know, all these things that you don't necessarily think about, but you do need to think about, because that changes the way that you approach it. Because in your head, you have your idea of how you're going to warm up, what the process is, and then now everything is changing, but you have no control over what that change is.
You know, where I learned about that in 1996 Olympics, I went as the Barbados Olympic coach. I had Trinbagonian athletes also. And Barbados in 1996 was rooming with the Israeli team. And since 1972, there's a different set of security for Israel. The building that we were in, the tram could not stop. So when you walked out of the building, you had to walk about 200 meters to get a tram. Inside of that building, the elevator, the Israeli team would be on the top 2 floors. Our Barbados people could not press that button to go to floor 3 or 4. They were also Israeli, where I learned about security. Guys standing up in jeans and short pants and so on. And when they told you, don't play with those fellas could deal with you with their fingers. They were so well trained and so on. But that was my first experience with intense security. And right now, the entire Olympics, JU, is going to be under that sort of security. It's a whole different game now.
But it is not like the Olympics was sprung upon Paris in the last couple of months. This has been planning in the last 10 years or so. So I would like to believe that they've already contingency planned for most of these scenarios that will be taking place here at this point in time. So yes, the security is at risk right now, but they would have already contingency planned, and the athletes, I'm sure, will not be affected in a great extent that we would believe at this point.
Yeah, great thoughts and great suggestions indeed from our panelists. We take a short break and come back with more on We Party Live. Stay with us. Welcome back to We Party Live. Live scenes indeed we shared with you before we went to the break when we touched base with Alex Jordan and many of the Caribbean athletes as well already at the Seine River waiting for their time to enter the barges and the boats as teams, over 100 of them, make their way down the 6-kilometer trek down the gentle currents of the Seine River. The first time ever in history that the Olympic opening ceremony will take place outside of a stadium. This is a big deal. This is record-breaking. This is historic. And as Adel mentioned in our opening set, that you know, the culture of the country is really showcased to the world in an opening ceremony.
Most definitely, and that's what it's about. This is the advertisement signaling the bell for the athletes to come out to entertain us. You know, some opening ceremonies, I remember 1984 when the rocket man first flew in with a rocket, and now that's kind of becoming the norm. You're seeing it in armies.
Was that your favorite one, though?
Well, I wouldn't have all I saw on TV. So to say my favorite ones would be the ones that Peter Minshall designed for in Seoul 88 and 92 Barcelona. Once you have a Trini flavor in there, I will be biased
Are you being
towards
biased
that.
now?
Definitely, once it's Trinidad and Tobago, I disclose my bias. But as far as opening ceremonies go, my greatest moment was actually watching on TV the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali, lighting that torch. I believe it was the 96 Olympics in Atlanta. So if I have a favorite moment, it's Muhammad Ali, because the greatest of all time.
What about you, Janelle? Any favorite moments, any favorite opening ceremonies that you wish to highlight?
I would say the 2004 games was definitely the highlight for me.
Athens, yeah.
I knew that was my last Olympics, and then for that to be at the birthplace of the Olympics was something very near and dear to me. However, I will say my favorite lighting the cauldron was definitely Kathy Freeman in 2000, representing Aboriginals of Australia. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Jehu, what about you? Jehu, you're a very reserved guy. Do you have any favorites, though?
I wouldn't say favorite. As athletes, we don't really get to experience the Olympic Games as many spectators would, either in the stands or on television. For us, we are lined up there for hours. I know for sure this Olympics, because I would have been sitting on a boat heading downstream in the Shelly-Ann River, would have definitely been my favorite Olympics. Sure. Yeah, but I would say my first Olympics in London 2012, it was a spectacle for me. The excitement was pretty high. I did not know what to expect. And then just having to hear the Trinidad and Tobago waving the flags, going into the stadium, and then even having an appearance by, I think it was James Bond and the Queen at that time. For me, it was spectacular. We all know the 007 movies, so I would see London 2012.
Indeed, London 2012. So I'll tell you mine. I have two favorites in the year 2000. Would have been Sydney. I was still in primary school. I came first on a project there. So that was certainly a good memory for me there. And also 2012 because of the James Bond moment. And as well as my favorite comedian, Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, played the piano. Well, I thought he played the piano back then, but knowing it was a recording done. And with all his antics and everything as well. And of course, we are showing you some scenes of the Olympic ceremony that has gone by as well. All the great themes, all the great moments, all the great times as well that were had by not just the athletes, but it is a pinnacle for many of the cultural icons that were showcased, and the various country greats as well that were showcased at the various countries hosting in Rio, in 2012 in London, Beijing, Athens, Sydney, of course, France as well. The last time they hosted the Olympics was in 1924, before this year. And this is really going to be something spectacular. So it's not only a centurion celebration, but it's a celebration of where they are actually using existing infrastructure. So it's a sustainable Olympics branded by many of the persons.
That's a fantastic point, because a lot of people think you host the Olympics and it's going to be rejuvenation and economic benefits. 1976, Montreal is still in debt from their Olympics. Sustainable is the word. 2012 Olympics, they utilized the investment to create and rejuvenate the east side of London, and that has brought financial benefits. Some of the countries who have invested a lot have not been able to reap the rewards, and so sustainability is key.
Indeed. Well, we're going to give you a sustainable look at how things will unfold in the Olympic Games. Paris 2024, the opening ceremony. We're going to give it to you right after this break. Stay with us. Cue the heavy metal bands. It's all happening in Paris, from heavy metal to orchestrated music, orchestrated dances as well, all happening in the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. And we are really, really happy to bring all of it to you as it happens. And speaking of all of it, Alex Jordan is in Paris, absorbing all of it. Alex, tell us, what is exactly happening? How is the moment? How is the feeling? How is the vibe?
Well, it feels like we're in the center of the universe, that's for sure, here in Paris. You also saw Lady Gaga and, of course, the can-can dancing. So much art, so much culture, so much style on show here in Paris. And there's actually a wonderful contrast between a very rainy, grey Paris and actually the light and the spirits of everyone here in the stands as we await all the athletes who will come off the barges onto the Seine, or off the Seine, onto the land, that's the word, la terre, and they're going to come up to this stage where we are.
Alex, 326,000 spectators on the banks of the River Seine. That has to be something that's totally out of the ordinary.
Extraordinary, and I think when you place it within the context of where we are, the history of the place where we are, right beside the Eiffel Tower. Remember, the Eiffel Tower, constructed in the late 1800s as the crowning glory, right, the celebration of the centennial of the French Revolution. Liberté, égalité, fraternité, we're feeling it all here. The culture, the history of this wonderful city, and the weight of this incredible moment as we open the 33rd Olympiad.
Alex, thank you very much. We're going to touch base with you as the opening ceremony continues. This is We Party Live. We take you back to the live scenes in Paris.
Jamais connu.
In 1995, a track by La Bouche. It was a magnificent, magnificent occasion. Also, John Lennon's Imagine. Celine Dion finishing off the opening ceremony with that closing piece. really put the icing on a magnificent cake that was Paris 2024, the opening ceremony. Not forgetting our Caribbean athletes crossing the River Seine with pride and passion, representing their various territories. That was certainly an amazing sight to see. From the fashion capital of the world, Paris 2024 is off to a bang. What was a Paris 2024 fashion district way without a catwalk in the middle of all the anticipated sights and sounds of Paris 2024? And of course, we're really happy to give you all of it right here. And I want to thank our panelists as well, Jehu Gordon for joining us, Janelle Atkinson, and of course Anna Roberts for being with us, for sharing in the moment and giving all of us a preview as to what was expected and what is to come in the weeks of Paris 2024. Remember, folks, if you're joining us for the live action, you can tune in on tomorrow morning. That's 2:30 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time on the IMC channels. And if you're joining us on SportsMax, that's 2 a.m. at Jamaica, 3 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time for all the action as it happens. On behalf of the entire production team here at SportsMax, we thank you for joining us. And until next time, we'll see you soon.